1077 The Wolf. This is In Focus, where each week we take a closer look at our community. I'm Sandy Bennett, and I have Joe Kelley and Nick Rokicki. These are authors. They wrote really it was a children's bestseller around the world, not just the country. But it was Pete the Popcorn, and you have a second release.
We have a second release, Clipper the Comet. It just came out on June 14th. It is actually set in the area. We're obviously really proud to be from Toledo. Joe's from Detroit area. Our illustrator is from Lakewood, Cleveland area. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the Rust Belt and putting pride in your work, pride in your family, pride in the area that you're at. And we stumbled across a way to present that. And it's through an old car, a 1975 Mercury Comet.
Which I sat in this car. It is cool. There actually is a Clipper the Comet. We have it in our parking lot here at the station as we speak. But it's very cool because it's one of the, if you remember old cars, it's got the big bench seats. It's got the old-fashioned steering wheel, lots of chrome, big bumpers. It's like a tank.
Yeah. So if you see the green machine coming down the street there, it's been fun. Of course, I'm 30. The car is actually 7 years older than I am.
Okay.
And so it's been interesting to drive it around. The first time I got behind the wheels and I didn't feel automatic brakes. So it's been interesting to drive the car, but it's been more interesting to it's an easy way to start conversations with people.
Yeah.
They come up, they see the car, they want to talk to you. Right away, they want to talk about the engine. And right away, I want to talk to them about how this country is different now from 1975 when that car came out.
Yeah.
And we've heard so many interesting stories about people's youth, and it just brings back memories just like that. It comes right back to them, and they want to tell you about the car that they had when they were growing up.
Uh-huh.
And it's a perfect way to present the story of a time gone by in America. That's kind of the way that we're looking at this story. So Clipper the Comet is about an old car parked in a grandparent's garage, and the grandkids are always bugging Grandma and Grandpa. They want to take it out for a ride. Grandma and Grandpa say, we don't drive that car. It's a classic car. We don't drive it. And the grandkids encourage, we're all about encouragement. The grandkids actually encourage the grandparents to take pride in their work. The grandpa helped build those cars when he was younger. And so he saved every day so he could buy one of those cars and have a part of what he was building. So it was a really good way to introduce a story about hard work and ethics to kids through the eyes of an old car.
The fact that you didn't necessarily have that instant gratification that everybody kind of expects today. It wasn't so fast moving. It was like you saved and then you bought the car. You didn't buy the car and then figure out how you're going to pay for it.
Absolutely.
It's the other way around.
Absolutely. We both wanted to pay a little bit of tribute to our grandparents in the story. My grandparents are both passed away, so we couldn't feature them necessarily in the story. However, our dedication pages are really centered through the eyes of our grandparents. My grandpa worked at Jeep here in Toledo for 36 years. And in the meantime, he was a substitute mail carrier for 55 years for the U.S. Postal Service. So there was hard work.
Yeah, and that is hard work.
So we wanted to definitely, when we've been reading Pete the Popcorn to all these kids across the country, I think we were noticing that there was a little bit missing. There was something missing in their lives. I don't think that they are appreciating as much as like hard work and work ethic. And you see maybe some of their parents' attitudes about the area that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
Maybe they're out of a job. Maybe they're feeling down in the dumps. Oh, Toledo. Oh, Detroit. Oh, Cleveland.
Yeah.
We wanted to show them a little bit that you have to take pride in where you're from, where you're at right now, and there's something always good happening around. And that's definitely the idea that we've tried to get across in this book, Clipper the Comet, because these cars were actually built in Lorain. They were built in Lorain, Ohio. Some of them were built in Kansas City, but the one we're driving around was built in Lorain. And the grandpa moved then from, the grandpa in the story moved from Lorain, Ohio to Blissfield, Michigan, and then worked at a car factory in Detroit, in the Motor City. So the whole area is involved in this, and he did. In the story, the grandpa worked on these Comets, and he wanted to have one for himself.
You're listening to In Focus on 1077 The Wolf. I'm Sandy Bennett, and I'm talking with best-selling children's book authors Joe Kelley and Nick Rokicki about their latest book, Clipper the Comet.
Okay, one thing I did want to mention in the story of Clipper the Comet, our illustrator, Kathleen Smith-Waters, that is from the Cleveland
Yeah,
area.
she's from Lakewood, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. We wanted to do a new spin on this, and her idea was actually to present the book as actually a scrapbook. So if you've noticed through the pages, there aren't any page numbers because it's actually illustrated to look like a scrapbook.
Oh, yeah, you're
And
mentioning that. Yeah, I could see that with the pictures and
yeah, and Nick and I wanted to be more involved in the illustration process. So what we did is we actually set up a photo shoot and mapped it all out exactly how we wanted to do it. And we actually took photos of each different scene within every single page of this entire book. And then in Photoshop, we turned it into like a colored pencil stencil type to make it still look realistic. And then our illustrator went back in and did spot illustrations throughout the whole entire book.
I can see that now because after having seen that comet, this is the comet. The picture in the book is the comet that you guys drive around. It's the actual car.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's
Cool.
very, very exciting. And the little boy, actually how they get the grandpa to actually take out Clipper the Comet is the little boy actually gets chocolate on the car, which is a no-no. So grandpa comes out and sees, and he's not very pleased that chocolate is on his car that he's
Prized
been
car,
babying
yes.
for all these years. So he has to relent and take out the vehicle to the car wash.
The whole project was really fun to accomplish. We involved people in our life involved in the process. The grandpa in the story in the photo shoot is actually my great uncle, Avery.
Really?
He plays the grandpa in the story. The children, he has that perfect grumpy look too.
Oh, he does. He has like,
The children in the story are family friends. We were actually, Joe and I were at the hospital when the little girl was born. So she is in the story. She plays the little girl, and her little brother plays. So they're real live brother and sister that play the parts in the story. And then we also wanted to include a small town that I loved growing up, and that's Blissfield. My family's all from the Ottawa Lake, Michigan area, just over the line here from Toledo. And we'd go to Blissfield a lot growing up. My brother and sister actually lived there at different points in their life. So on the very first page of the story, it says, "Welcome to Blissfield." And that's where we actually did the photo shoot, was in the town of Blissfield. So we had to mention that in the book.
yeah.
And as a special little treat for the people around this area and the people of Blissfield, we're going to have a launch event for the book next weekend at the River Raisin Festival in Blissfield. We'll be there in the parade Saturday morning at 10 a.m.
With the
and
comet.
with the car. We'll be there with the car. So it'll be fun to honk the horn and see everybody. And then we'll also be signing copies of the book all weekend at the festival.
Oh, very nice.
And-
perfect. That's so perfect.
As an added bonus, we've noticed also going around and reading to kids, Pete the Popcorn, that summertime reading is very, very important.
Yes.
It's so important that kids pick up a book every single day and try to read.
Yeah.
We have about 2,000 gently used children's books to give away to kids at the festival all weekend long.
Very nice.
So we're running it like a book swap. If parents, families have books that they're not reading currently that they want to come and contribute to the swap, they can bring those. If they don't have any books they want to bring to contribute, they can come take some. So hopefully everybody will come out and see us and grab some books in Blissfield.
And we also have some brand new books that were donated from the state senator, Glenn Anderson. So we have some brand new books that are still in the packaging that kids can still have and everything. So we're just really, really excited. There's not a limit on how many books that we're going to give to the kids. I just don't want books that are going to be on a shelf for a kid. We want them to be reading it and continually changing. And this can inspire other neighborhoods to do a book swap in their neighborhood. They can just get 10 different moms, do a mommy group, say, hey, everyone bring 5 books that your kids they don't read, and then just swap them out and just do that every couple months. And so kids are still continuing to read. Books are very expensive, and not everyone can afford to buy a $15, $20 book. So this is your opportunity to come get a free book, come have fun at the festival, and just make sure you continue to read.
And we have noticed going out and reading Pete the Popcorn to kids that they do need to brush up on their reading skills a little bit. We've been to a couple of schools where we were reading to older kids, and we thought we would involve them more in the process of the reading, and we asked the teachers ahead of time, can we have them stand up and read parts of the story?
Right.
And the teachers were a little bit at certain schools a little bit embarrassed and said, you better read it to them. Their reading skills really need a little bit of work still. Oh. So I think that reading during the summertime is an excellent way to brush up on those skills, because you get to choose what you read. It's not assigned reading. Go to the library and pick out any book you want.
You don't have to write about it, tell anybody about it. You just keep it in your head.
Right.
Yeah. And
you
were saying it transports you to another place in time. So it's like taking a vacation in a really strange kind of way, stepping into somebody else's shoes, seeing what they lived through.
Exactly.
This is In Focus on 107.7 The Wolf. I'm Sandy Bennett, and my guests are Joe Kelley and Nick Rokicki. They are best-selling children's book authors, and we're talking about their latest book, Clipper the Comet.
The cover of Clipper the Comet, too, we're really impressed with. Kathleen Smith-Waters did the entire cover, except for the car is the actual car. But the Detroit skyline is in the background. And if you're from Detroit, if you know Detroit, you'll notice right away. And then, of course, Woodward Avenue. There's a street sign for Woodward Avenue on there. And, of course, we'll be at the Woodward Dream Cruise, which is the biggest car show in the world. With the Comet. And that's August 18th. So we're really, really excited about that.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
We've just noticed that people that have a love of cars and auto workers and just people from the Rust Belt in general have been really interested in this story.
I know that feeling of just feeling a sense of pride. It's special. Like if you see a Jeep driving down the street in Toledo, your neighbor probably made that Jeep.
Absolutely. I remember one time I was in junior high, and my parents took me to Hawaii, and we saw a Jeep there. And of course, my dad, my dad said something about, that Jeep came all the way from Toledo, Ohio. That's where we're from. And he struck up a conversation with the guy driving it just based on that.
Yeah.
So in the story, it says, Nick, the little boy's name is Nick, and we didn't rename him Nick. His name is actually Nick.
Okay.
But Nick asks, where did they build those cars, Grandma? Nick's eyes looked like colossal circles as he pictured his grandpa building cars. And the grandma says the Comets that Grandpa worked on were created in Lorain, Ohio. That was before Grandpa got a better career right here in Michigan, Nick, in the city of Detroit. That's why it was called the Motor City, and why it still is the Motor City, because of capable craftsmen like your grandpa. So, and then in the end, so that it's not so focused on Detroit, I think a lot of people, when they picture the Motor City, they only picture Detroit. They don't picture small towns all across the state, like Blissfield, where these workers came from.
Yeah.
And
they don't all live in Detroit necessarily.
They don't all live in Detroit. So when people think of the Motor City, Detroit, they also need to think about the whole area, including Toledo, including Blissfield, including hundreds of small towns across Michigan and Ohio, where the backbone of the auto industry really was created. It wasn't the car companies; it was the people that were in there working every day.
Well, and also the people that, not just the people that even worked in the factories themselves, but it's also all the spin-off business.
Absolutely.
I did want to mention in the back of the book, we do have photos. Nick has a photo of his grandpa, Merle Ulrich.
Muscle man.
Yeah, in 1947. And my mom was going to submit a picture of me in the back of a 1975 convertible car that she had, but she couldn't find the photo. And so I wanted to pay tribute to my grandma, Sarah Lucas. So in the back of the book, I have a picture of my grandma and I when I was just a few months old.
Yeah.
And still cute,
it's still cute.
So, anyway, one thing in my dedication I wanted to mention is, and I'll just read from the back of the book. This book is not a love letter to the car companies. The companies didn't put Detroit on the map. The people did. So this love letter is for them. So just wanted to remember that, this is not trying to suck up to the car companies or anything like that. This is just for any family that's ever purchased a car or ever had any hard work and had to actually work for something. Some of these people that have things, just like you mentioned earlier, they put everything on a credit card and they don't have the money. And so there's something to say, if you've worked all summer long for a car or for an iPod or anything that you've worked for, you're going to take so much better care of it. And that's what the grandpa is illustrating in the book, Clipper the Comet.
Yeah.
And who worked really hard for it. And he doesn't want to just take it all around and just get it all, banged up and everything.
You're listening to In Focus on 107.7 The Wolf. I'm Sandy Bennett, and I'm talking with best-selling children's book authors Joe Kelley and Nick Rokicki about their latest book, Clipper the Comet.
So everybody asks how we come up with these stories, and it is as simple as Joe and I were looking for a newer car that has good gas mileage. So we went to go look at a Chevy HHR out in Walbridge, and when we pulled up, this 1975 Comet was sitting in the front of the house. And the Chevy HHR was in the back of the house. So we took the HHR for a spin and then came back out and looked at the Comet. And I thought, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Joe was all about it right away. But went back to the office and sat down and started to write a little story about the car, but more importantly, about car workers, about grandparents, about an American past that, as I write in the story, it's not quite long ago, but it does feel quite distant.
Yeah,
And so anyway, it was as simple as that, going and actually just seeing this car. And we knew right away that the car was going to be a hit, and the car had to be part of the book. And so that's how we came up with the story.
So when we wrote the story, we actually wrote the story and contacted our publishing company, Sarville Publishing, and they approved it since Beat the Popcorn was a #1 hit. So we were pretty happy that they approved it.
Yeah.
And also what I wanted to pay tribute to is the original owner, Catherine. She actually had the Comet in her garage for 31 years and did not drive the vehicle.
I know you guys told me it had 12,000 miles on it. I'm like, what?
Yeah, actually it had 10,000
miles on it.
Yes,
Wow.
Yes, 10,000 miles. And what had happened is we wanted to pay tribute to her. And so in the story, the grandma's name is Catherine, and that is to pay tribute to the woman that had passed away. It was her first vehicle. We have all the original paperwork that she purchased it from. Her first gas receipt indicated that she paid 28 cents a gallon, and that it cost her just a little over $9 to fill up that Comet.
Wow.
So how much does your gas cost today, folks?
Yeah, there's a throwback, huh?
So hopefully we'll be able to continue traveling around to schools and this time read them Clipper the Comet and be able to talk a little bit about the area of the country that we come from. Going around the country reading Pete the Popcorn was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And we were actually all around, we can say we were all around the world now.
Yeah, you guys were in Egypt. I saw this picture. I thought you photoshopped it, but you actually were in Egypt. How cool is that?
Awesome. On the back of the book, we have a picture of us reading Pete the Popcorn in front of the pyramids in Egypt. And we actually got to read the book, Pete the Popcorn, on Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines to their kids' club. And then after the kids heard the story, we were able to initiate a town hall conversation with the adults on the ship about bullying in our schools. So we really felt like we've been able to make a mark on that.
Yeah.
So now we're off on another spree here, talking to kids about hard work and work ethics and pride in your work, pride in your families. Being able to pay tribute to the grandparents in this story was wonderful. And I think it's important that people do that and remember that. And I talked in the back of the book about how every Sunday, each and every Sunday, we'd always go visit Grandma and Grandpa on the farm every week. And it's I don't know if that happens anymore.
No.
I don't know that happens anymore. In some ways, grandparents are even more involved in kids' lives now because they're raising them and everything.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to pay tribute because it was a special time in my life.
Yeah,
And, my grandpa didn't have a classic car parked in the garage, just an old John Deere that needed a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I talk about that at the back of the book. But in subtle ways, you have to pay tribute to where you were growing up.
Yes.
And I think that we've successfully accomplished that in this story.
And as you know, in Pete the Popcorn, we always have a secret character somewhere throughout the book. Pete the Popcorn on page 10 is a little grasshopper sitting on the edge. And we always ask the children at the schools, what jumps out at you that you normally do not see in a classroom? And the kids always find Gilbert the Grasshopper immediately, but the adults struggle. And Gilbert the Grasshopper is a character in one of our next books. So in every single book, we have a secret character somewhere throughout the book. So, Sandy, what is our secret character or secret something throughout the book? Anything catch your eye throughout the book? Anything that kind of catches your eye?
Candy's Cupcake?
Candy's Cupcakes. At the end, we won't give away the story, but at the end, the old 1975 Comet with 10,097 miles pulls up to Candy's Cupcakes. And this is actually one of the secrets. So the kids in our schools know the secret. Actually, our next book is called Casey and Kelly Cupcake. It's about two chocolate cupcakes that try to outdo each other, and they jump into all these different frostings and all these different toppings, and they try to outdo the other cupcake. So this is the secret. So in the back of our dedication on the very very back where it says special thanks
Oh,
to
okay.
all these different people that have helped us out. So
Oh, that's
I
so
do want to
funny.
thank everyone on Facebook and the communities and the principals and everyone else that have helped us along the way, the city of Blissfield. We do appreciate it. But at the very end of the book, we say, until next time, work up your appetite for cupcakes. Those in the know will know.
Oh, see, now you're in the know. You're in the know.
So yeah, we're really excited about Casey and Kelly Cupcake. In fact, in the fall, September and October, we're anticipating going around the country talking to kids. We're talking at the Encouragement Across America tour. And we're going to visit schools again, read them Pete the Popcorn still, because that's been so popular, and also talk to them about Casey and Kelly Cupcake, which is being released on Election Day. We're going to release it on November 6th. So
interesting day to
Casey and
release it.
Kelly are out there campaigning for your vote.
You guys just seem to have this, I don't know what it is, it's like this magic around you that things like this seem to fall out of the sky, but not really. But somehow you're connected to where you're paying attention. And when these things happen, you're just kind of pulled along, aren't you? Is that how
This
it feels?
one definitely was like meant to be. This
meant to
car,
be, I
this
guess is
this
what you
car
mean.
wasn't advertised at all online. We didn't go look at this car. We were going to look at a different car, and the fact that a children's book popped into our head
That's
when
what
we
I
see
mean.
this
It's
car.
It's like one minute you're just thinking I need a car, and the next minute it's like, Clipper the Comet appears, and then you end up with the car, and then you end up with inspired to write the book, and this whole thing just kind of comes out of that. You guys seem to have some kind of a you're on a roll right now, and you're connected with some kind of divine guidance or something that's pulling you along, and I just think that's wonderful that you're doing that.
Yeah, well, we want to tell you thank you for having us and everything, and you've just been more than a pleasure. Every single time that we call you, you always call us right back and email us right back.
Oh, because I'm excited about
yeah,
you guys. I think
we're
you guys are
very
cool.
appreciative of
Yeah.
everything that you have done.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been In Focus on 107.7 The Wolf. I'm Sandy Bennett. Many thanks to my guests, Joe Kelley and Nick Rokicki, best-selling children's book authors of both Pete the Popcorn and their latest book, Clipper the Comet. Keep listening to The Wolf. Ken Cooper's in at 8 with Retro Country on 107.7 The Wolf.